Hi. Yesterday we left Peter and Fudge at their dad's work. Their mum has gone away for the weekend to see her sister, and so now their dad's in charge. It's Friday, so it's a work day. Peter and Fudge have gone to where he works, which is an advertising company. They make TV commercials, and they are in the middle of making a toddler bike TV commercial. And that's where we ended. So carrying on. While I was thinking about what fun it would be, Mr. Vincent came over to us and grabbed Fudge. He lifted him up. "Perfect!" he cried. "He's perfect!" The mothers who were waiting packed up their kids and left right away. Mr. Vincent took off with Fudge in his arms. Janet chased after him. She called, "But Mr. Vincent, you don't understand." I ran after Janet. Mr. Vincent carried Fudge into the other room. He announced, "I found him myself, the perfect kid to ride the toddler bike in my new commercial." Mr. Vincent put Fudge down and took the cigar out of his mouth. There were two other men in the room. One of them was Mr. Denberg. The other one was my father. "Hi, Daddy," Fudge said. "George," my father told Mr. Vincent, "this is my son. He's no actor or model. He can't make your toddler bike commercial." "He doesn't have to be an actor or a model. He's perfect the way he is," Mr. Vincent insisted. "Now look, George, we want to make the best possible commercial for your company, but Fudge can't be the boy to ride the toddler bike." "Now you listen, Hatcher." Mr. Vincent raised his voice. I wondered why he called my father Hatcher, just like Mr. Yarby did. Mr. Vincent pointed to Fudge. "Either that kid rides my toddler bike, or I take my account to another advertising agency. It's that simple." My father looked at Mr. Denberg. "It's your decision, Warren," Mr. Denberg told my father. "I don't want to be the one to tell you what to do." My father picked up Fudge and held him on his lap. "Would you like to ride the toddler bike, Fudge? It's just like the one you have at home." "Why are you asking him?" I said. "What does he know about making commercials?" My father acted like he'd forgotten I was even around. "I'm thinking, Peter," he said. "Please be quiet." "Well, Hatcher," Mr. Vincent said, "what'll it be? This kid of yours, or do I have to move to another agency?" I remembered how my father lost the Juicio account because of Fudge. Now maybe he'd lose this one too. And I don't think he can afford that. Finally, my father said, "All right, George, you can use him. On one condition, though." "What's that, Hatcher?" Mr. Vincent asked. "The commercial has to be made this afternoon. After today, my son Fudge won't be available." "Fine with me, Hatcher," Mr. Vincent said. Is he going to get paid?" I asked my father. "I'll worry about that, Peter," my father said. That probably meant yes. He'd be paid and have lots of money in the bank, and I'd have nothing. And someday I'd have to borrow from him. No, wait a minute. Never. I'll never borrow money from Fudge. I'll starve first. "Can I at least watch when you make the commercial?" I asked. "Certainly," my father said. "You can watch the whole thing." I turned to Mr. Denberg. "Will Fudge be famous?" I asked. "No, not famous, but a lot of people will think he looks familiar," Mr. Denberg said. I turned to Mr. Vincent. "Do you know he has no front top teeth?" "It's part of his charm," Mr. Vincent said. "And he cut off all his hair 2 months ago?" "Well, he looks fine now," Mr. Vincent said. "And he can't even talk in long sentences yet," I told everyone in the room. "Well, he doesn't have to say a word," Mr. Vincent told me. I couldn't think of any other reason why Mr. Vincent shouldn't use Fudge in his toddler bike commercial. It was settled. Soon Fudge would be a famous television star, and I'd be plain old Peter Hatcher, 4th grade nothing. The title. Let's begin right after lunch, Mr. Denberg said. We should get it filmed in about 2 hours. While my father and Mr. Denberg worked out all the arrangements, I asked Janet where the men's room was. She walked me to it. I told her thanks, but she didn't have to wait. I'd find my own way back. When I was safely inside, I looked at myself in the mirror. I wish Fudge had never been born, I thought. Everything good always happens to him. If he had to be born, I wish he could be 9 or 10 like me. Then Mr. Vincent wouldn't want him to be the one to ride the toddler bike in his commercial. Janet sent down to the coffee shop for some sandwiches and drinks. After we ate, we all walked to another section of the agency where the cameras were set up. A make-believe street scene was in the background, and the toddler bike was shiny red. My father told Fudge all he had to do was ride it around. Fudge liked that. He zoomed all over the place. Vroom, 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 he called. My father, Mr. Vincent, and Janet sat on folding chairs and watched the action. I sat on the floor at my father's side. Mr. Denberg was the director. He said, "Okay, Fudge, we're ready to begin now. You ride the toddler bike where I tell you to, and I'll take a picture of you doing it, all right?" "No," Fudge said. "What does he mean, Hatcher?" Mr. Vincent asked. "Why did he say no?" My father groaned. "Look, George, using Fudge was your idea, not mine." Mr. Denberg tried again. "Okay, Fudge, this is it." The cameraman said, "Start riding this way. Ready, set, go." Fudge sat there on the toddler bike, but he wouldn't pedal. "Come on, kid, let's go," the cameraman called. "No, don't want to," Fudge answered. "What's with this kid, Mr. Hatcher?" the cameraman asked. "Fudge," my father said, "do what the nice man tells you to." "No, don't have to." Janet whispered to my father, "How about some cookies, Mr. Hatcher?" "Good idea, Janet," my father told her. "I have some right here," she said, patting her handbag. "Shall I give them to him?" "One at a time," my father said. Janet walked across the room to Fudge. He was sitting on the toddler bike. "If you do what the nice man says, you can have a cookie," Janet told him. "Show me," Fudge said. Janet held up a box of cookies. She really is well prepared, I thought. She must eat all day long. What with crackers and shaped like goldfish and a whole box of cookies, too. I wondered what else she had in that handbag. "Gimme," Fudge said. Janet held up one cookie. Fudge reached for it, but Janet didn't let him have it. "If you do what the nice man says, you can have a cookie. Maybe even 2 or 3 cookies." "First cookie," Fudge said. "First, do what the nice man says," Janet told him. "No, first cookie." "Oh, just give him one, Janet," Mr. Denberg called. "We haven't got all day to fool around." Janet gave Fudge one cookie. He ate it all up. "Okay, kid, all ready now?" the cameraman said. "Right over to me." Fudge didn't do it. Mr. Vincent was losing his patience. "Hatcher," he hollered, "you get that son of yours to ride my toddler bike, or I'm taking my whole account away from you and your agency." "Must I remind you, George, using Fudge was your idea, not mine," my father said. "I forget about whose idea it was, Hatcher. He's your kid. You better get through to him now." "I have an idea," my father said. He walked to the corner of the room and beckoned to the others. Mr. Denberg and Mr. Vincent gathered around him along with the cameraman and Janet. They looked like a bunch of football players huddled together talking about the next play. Soon my father called me. "Peter, would you join us, please?" "Sure, Dad," I said. "What is it?" "Peter, we want you to ride the toddler bike for us, to show Fudge how it's done." "But he already knows how to ride," I said. "Didn't you see him zooming around?" "He won't do it for the cameras, though," my father explained. "So we need your help." "Will I be in the commercial, too?" I asked. Well, the toddler bike is really for very young children, Mr. Denberg said. Otherwise, we'd have you do it in a minute. Oh, I got the message. It was like buying the shoes and like at Miss Dr. Brown's office. They were going to use me to get Fudge to do what they wanted him to. I wondered how anybody would ever manage my brother without my help. I walked over to Fudge, told him I was going to ride the toddler bike. Get off, I said. Fudge held on to the bike. No, mine. It's not yours, my father told him. But Fudge wouldn't move for anything. He closed his eyes and screamed. Can he scream loud when he tries? So my father had to pull him off the toddler bike. Fudge kicked and kept screaming, and I'll bet Mr. Vincent was sorry he ever spotted my brother in the first place. I got on the toddler bike. I was so small, my knees practically touched the ground. But I managed to ride it around just where the cameraman told me to. See how nice Peter can ride the toddler bike, Janet said. Oh, here, Peter, come and have a cookie. You did that so well. You can have 2 or 3 if you want. Fudge stopped screaming. Me, he said. What? My father asked him. Me ride, me. Oh, you can't ride as well as Peter can, Mr. Denberg said. Can so, Fudge told him. I don't think so, Mr. Denberg said. You already had a turn. You didn't do what I told you to do. Me. You want to try again? My father asked. Again, Fudge said. Again. Well, I don't know, Mr. Denberg said. Well, Mr. Vincent said, chewing on his cigar. Well, the cameraman said, scratching his head. Please, Fudge begged. I've never heard my brother say please before. Mr. Denberg said, okay, we'll give you one more chance. Fudge ran to the toddler bike. I got off and he jumped on. Now? He asked Mr. Denberg. Now, Mr. Denberg said, ride this way, Fudge, over here towards me. Fudge did as he was told. Just like Peter, he said. See, just like Peter. Janet gave me a kiss on my cheek. Oh, you saved the day, Peter Hatcher, she said. And when she wasn't looking, I wiped my face. Her kiss was too juicy. Now it's chapter 9. Just another rainy day. The next day it rained. My father asked me how I'd like to go to the movies. Just me? I asked. No, all 3 of us, he said. Fudge is very young to go, I said. Don't you think so? Maybe, but I can't think of anything else to do with him. And that will take up a few hours. You could give him some socks, I suggested. You know how he loves to play with your socks. But socks won't last the whole afternoon, my father said. That's why I thought of the movies. Oh, what do we see, Dad? My father checked his New York magazine. A Bear's Life is playing in the neighborhood. How does that sound? What's it about? I asked. A bear's life, I guess, my father said. It's rated G. Like PG. I was thinking of a good Western with lots of action, or else a film rated R, where you can't get in if you're under 17 unless you're with your parents. But my father had made up his mind. A Bear's Life it was. I suggested that my father get Fudge cleaned up because by then he was looking kind of messy. I don't think my father even put him into his pajamas last night. He's been wearing the same polo shirt ever since Mom left yesterday morning. By 1 o'clock, we were ready to go. All 3 of us wore our raincoats and boots, and my father took his big black umbrella. One thing about New York, it's hard to get a cab when it's raining. But the movie theater wasn't that far away, and my father said the walk would do us all good. There were a lot of puddles. It was really pouring. I like to walk in the rain, especially if it's not too cold out. It feels nice when it wets your face. I jumped over the puddles. My father avoided them too, but not Fudge. He jumped right into everyone and splashed around like a little duck. By the time we got to the movie theater, the bottoms of his trousers were soaked. My father took him into the men's room. He stuffed a bunch of paper towels up each trouser leg so Fudge wouldn't have to sit around wet. At first, Fudge complained, but when my father bought him a big box of popcorn, he forgot about his stuffed trousers. Right after we got settled in our seats, a big boy sat down in front of Fudge, so he had to change seats with my father. Now he was on the aisle, I was in the middle, and my father was on the other side. When the lights dimmed, Fudge said, "Oh, dark." I told him, "Be quiet, you can't talk in the movies." "Okay, Peter," he said. What's going to happen next in the movies? See you tomorrow, find out.